Hi guys! Today we're gonna do corn, and that's the one that doesn't make a mess. I got a little blue container here. There were mushrooms in there. And I put 2 tissues in there. Like that. And corn is so easy. Now we're gonna go germinate the corn. Sweet corn, of course. We're just gonna make this wet. And make sure that both tissues are wet. And if you've got holes in the bottom, this one doesn't have holes. Make sure that you got some plastic underneath it. Make sure that's nice and wet, both of them. And we're going to take the sweet corn. And we're just going to put that on there. Now, I can't have too much sweet corn in my backyard because I don't have that much room for it, so I might want to divide these a little bit better. My husband loves sweet corn. I love it too, and actually I've been eating it like off the cob when it was done. I've just ate it just like that because it was so good. So we got, I think 9 sweet corns will do it. Now we're just going to put the container on there. And this will germinate in the dark, so I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm just going to find a dark space to put it. It really doesn't have to be in the sunshine. There's several ways to germinate corn, actually. Last time for twice actually, I did put it in a Ziploc bags, also with moist paper, and I closed the Ziploc bags, and the first time everything went okay, and the second time I forgot that I put them in my drawer, and like a month later I thought, oh crap, and then, you know, it was wasted. So I'm going to leave it like this now so that I know that it's there, and I'm just going to wait until it germinates. Today is April 8th, so let's see how long it takes before they germinate. So this is what they look like now. This part is the root, and as you can see we're getting more roots, and this part is the corn. So we're going to replant them now, and for that you need toilet paper, and you need to cut that in on 4 sides like this. I cut in one side, and then I go straight across to the other side, and then here one side and straight across on the other side, and then you're just going to fold that in. Fold in the second part, and that part, and that part, and this one. You get out that one, you're just going to go and fold it in under there. And just push that down. So you got this, and then you're going to fill this with soil, and the toilet paper is breaks down in the soil later on, so you can just fill this up with potting soil all the way, and then we're going to put the corn in there. And then we're going to poke a hole right in the middle there, and that root goes all the way in. Cover the root up, and we're going to put a little bit more soil on top of there. You're going to put them in a plastic container that doesn't leak through, and then just make it all wet, and until they're ready to go into the soil. Now, corn roots will grow above the soil a little bit, so don't worry about that. The corn is still good when that happens. And now I'm going to do the rest of them. It's time to put the corn in. Now I got 8 corn, so I'm going to do like a 2 place for the corn I'm going to dig this up. I'm going to go put them in really deep. The corn is already getting the roots, so gotta put them in deep. Corn will actually start growing roots a little above ground that I noticed last time. Just gonna go put that all in and close that up. And of course we need to water that. So when you planted them all, don't forget to water them. And just watch them grow. It is June 4th, and this is what my corn looks like right now. I actually already had given up on them. As you can see, the middle ones are really small. I don't know exactly what the problem was. I thought they were gonna die. But right now, new shoots are coming out. So, I was thinking about like what might have been the problem. Why wouldn't they just grow? So, 3 years ago, I had tomatoes right in this same spot. And those tomatoes got blight. Now with tomatoes it's like this, you can't plant them in the same spot every year. Okay, so you'll have to, like, if you got them 1 year over here in this planter, then next year put them over there. And then to be on the safe side, the 3rd year just put them over there, on the other side where there's no plants. And but when you have blight in your tomato plants, then you shouldn't be growing anything there for 6 years. So I figured that was the problem, and I was about ready to give up on my corn and pull them out, and then I figured, like, you know what, I'm going to give it one more shot. I have a bucket of dried cow manure, and I sprinkled that over, and I just started watering them so that that would go in there, and that didn't work either. At least I didn't think it worked, because it took like another 2 weeks or at least. And then I thought, you know what, let me try one more other thing. I just had the grass, I mowed the lawn, and I used the grass to drain the grass with water, and then I dripped that water. I let that water drip out, and the next day I put water in there again, and I noticed that there's green water coming out after I dripped them. So I caught the green water and I sprayed my plants with, I've sprayed my corn with water off the grass, and ta-da! Suddenly, within 2 days, this is what it looks like. I have also noticed that corn needs nitrogen in the soil, and beans create nitrogen. So it would have been smarter if I had just planted them in between the beans. But you know what? I think I'll plant a couple of beans in between the corn here and see what happens. In the olden days, I didn't know this, I found this out on Google. In the olden days, what farmers would do, they would plant corn first, then they would plant beans, and the beans would climb up around the corn, and then on the outside of the beans they would plant the cucumbers, and then the cucumbers would be climbing up against the beans. Now that's pretty smart. I think I'll try that next year. But you know, you can't have cucumbers outside, so maybe try with one plant and I'll try it inside. I'll see how that works. The corn doesn't grow that high. This is sugar corn. It grows to about 1 meter and 50 centimeters. So I'm not too worried about this corn growing out of my greenhouse. So I think I could try that. But first I'm going to go and put some green beans in between here, and hope that in case this soil needs, or this compost needs the nitrogen, that will solve it. You know, I didn't know there were so many things that you had to think about. I thought you just had potting soil and you just put the seed in there and, you know, water it and you would be done. But oh my God, there is so many things that you have to think of. And, you know, this is my 3rd year and I'm slowly learning. So beans planting it is in between the corn. Okay, we need a hole. We need a bean. I'm just going to do a couple in between there. Don't even know if they will grow, but we'll see. Because the other beans have been started on inside. But if all is correct, at the end of May, you're supposed to be able to plant your beans outside. So hereby plant it. I planted 4 in between, like in between the corn, and we'll see if they'll climb up or not. If so, yay, more beans. But I already got plenty of beans going. But yeah, and it also turns out that once that you have beans in there, what I read is that the soil will contain or remain having nitrogen in there for like the whole year. Once the beans are already full grown and you ate them and you took them out, then the nitrogen will still be in your soil. But yeah, okay, nitrogen. Who knew? Not me. So I'm gonna water the beans and we'll see what happens. I have a wheelbarrow here with grass clippings that is 3 days old. The first day I put them in the wheelbarrow and I watered them, and then the next day I turned them around, and the day after that I watered them again, and today they've just been watered. But I just want to show you what I did. Water it, and this is really stinky and the flies are all over it. Now it's already watered today, so this is just like for editorial purposes. I got a leak right there. I'm putting that underneath it, and I'm also covering all other leaks, but not right now. So if you don't have a wheelbarrow that leaks, you can just pour the water out. Just let it sink in for like half an hour and then pour the water out. What you see there dripping in there is almost black, and it's highly concentrated. I found out that the nutrients in grass are also magnesium, which I actually need for my bean plants, else they're gonna have yellow spots on the leaves, and nitrogen, which I actually need for my corn. These grass clippings, I'm not gonna let them hang around here too long. That dripping is very highly concentrated. Okay, the first time you drip it, it's gonna be clear. The second time you drip it, it's gonna be light. The third time you drip it, it's actually gonna be like this dark. Now I think this is like the last time I'm going to be dripping this, because I'm gonna be cutting grass again in a couple of days. But this is the stuff that I used. Because it's already highly concentrated right now, I can add a little bit of water to it. When I did the first catching, it was a lot lighter, so I didn't add any water to it. But I am going to add some water to this, and this is what I did. And now my corn is looking absolutely stunning. It's finally growing and I'm so happy. Oh my god, it stinks so bad. It's like horse manure. And yeah, the flies will be all over it. And probably laying their eggs in it. So I'm gonna let this grass dry and then just gonna put it aside and let it mulch. And yeah, I'll do this again when I cut my grass next time. So now all I have to do is pour that in there. Oh god, oh the smell, the smell. Add a little bit of water to it and then just water my plants. Corn is looking good. It's growing big. It's growing strong. You can see how strong it's getting, especially this one on the outside. Even the little ones have started to take on getting new leaves. The beans are doing great in between. There's just one problem. Let me show you that. See that little one here, right here, growing? Well, that's the stem of the bean plant. Now look what happened here. Yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, right here, something came out and ate it. And I always am eager to blame and the same over here. It's gone, completely eaten, that head. Don't know if it's a bird, don't know if it's a bug of some sort, don't know if it's a snail. I quickly resulted in putting a little container with it just in case they were snails, because snails don't like this. That's just a plastic bottle with sharp edges and snails don't like it. I also found out that when it's the end of the season, you should leave the bean plants in the soil because they're creating kind of a nitrogen that will be good for your soil. Okay, so instead of composting them, you can leave them in, or you can pull them out and throw them on the compost if you want this whole thing cleared out, which I actually do. Now, when these plants are full grown, it turns out they actually have some sort of a little ball on their roots that produce the nitrogen. So that's a part of your plant that you need to save, unless of course your plant became sick. But that's a very important part for your soil, so it's very good to compost the nitrogen, and I think I need to compost this soil next year too. The nitrogen will still be in there, so I'll probably be cleaning this out, put all new soil in there, and then make sure that there's bean plants in there. You gotta have beans everywhere for the nitrogen in your soil. So I also bought some Epsom salt, and it seemed to be doing also the trick. They got some Epsom salt water right here, and but this one, I think this one has to do definitely with the water from the grass, the way it's growing now. See, even the little ones are getting new leaves. That's been a long time coming. So, well, at least you don't get all your corn at the same time, right? Get them one by one. That's good. I'm so glad they all lived. I didn't think they would. Should have seen them. Oh my god. Seriously. As you can see, my corn is looking absolutely beautiful. The beans that were in between them, that got their heads munched off, actually gave new shoots coming out of there. The test was to make the beans grab onto the corn. And as you can see, that's happening right here. So that's good. The only thing is, those beans grow way faster than the corn. So definitely plant them later. As you can see here, my corn is getting side branches. That means nutrients are going to another place than where they need to go. And no, corn will not be growing on here. What you need to do is cut that off and just put it on your compost pile so that you get all the nutrients back into your main stem. So you gotta check that. Some of them will have two actually, Some will even have two. I got one right here, and I got another one right here. So, you gotta keep an eye on that. That's very important. Corn will not be growing off there. The first year I had corn, I didn't know how it grew. So, I figured like, oh, there's my corn. It's all the way on the bottom. No, it's not. These are just new corn plants, and yeah, they're in the way of making the other plants grow healthier. And you will see it a couple of times happening, and it's only on the bottom. You won't see those shoots coming up here. They just start from the bottom. Okay, so just cut them off and you'll be good. Today is June 10th, and I just cut off the new part that's growing. They will grow back, but not as much, and eventually they'll die off. So just make sure you keep an eye on that, because that's pretty important if you want your nutrients to go into your corn. Now, here we got the seeds. So that means my corn plant is not going to grow as big as it's supposed to be, but that's okay. I guess again I'm gonna get mini corn this time around. I'm not too worried about that. So these seeds are going to be the ones you need to pollinate your corn with, and I'm gonna keep an eye on that and see, because these grow out pretty high. And but I think my corn is basically matured when they are giving the seed, so I don't think it will grow much higher. But we'll see. Yeah, mini corn. Okay, no problem, as long as it tastes good. And right here and here is where my corn will be growing. Now I can choose to have two corns, which is normal for this this sweet corn. It will have two ears where the corn will come out of. So I'm going to let them both on there. One will be bigger than the other, though. I noticed that on the corn last time around, but that's fine. And we're going to keep an eye on this, and as soon as it gets hair, I'm going to check it for earwigs, because they like to eat that hair. So when that time comes around, I will show you how I took care of that 2 years ago. Right here is where my corn is growing. These are the hairs that come out. They need to be pollinated. You can always, when they get really long, you can trim them off. They'll grow again. They'll grow back again. And I have two more cups in here. I have one right here growing, and it's growing up. But there's no hair yet, which is disturbing, because that probably means I got earwigs in there. See, because this is a lot larger than the one on the top. And I got another one growing right here. So that's 3. Now the sugar corn is supposed to have like only 2 cups. So I'm going to take this one out, so the other 2 have a good chance to grow. I'm going to open that up later, and I'm going to use double-sided adhesive around here to keep the earwigs out. But before that, we would have to catch them. Now you don't have to worry, because when the plants grow bigger, you will be able to see them much easier if they're still in there. Earwigs can fly. They normally don't fly. So they're kind of easy to grab when you have a couple of, if you have flat nose pliers. They're very easy to grab with that. So this is just double-sided adhesive. And I gotta be careful that I don't grab my bean, so I'm going around the bean. Stick that on there pretty good. It's not gonna get any thicker than this. And get my top layer off. Oops. There. And that will be good when it rains. Okay? So, another thing, what I talked to you about earlier, the roots are now growing above soil. Okay, so this is where I took some of the side branches off, right here and here. And you got to be careful with them roots. If it's really hot, then you got to make sure that you don't pour water on them right there. So you got to be careful with those. So it's best then to water them early in the morning or in the evening. And when they get dark like that, well, that's the sun. I can't do anything about that. These are the roots of one of the corns that grew later, so you can see that they're really nice and green. And but yeah, the sun will damage them. There's nothing you can do about it. This plant is not as thick as the other one, so the stem is not as thick yet as the other one, so I'm not going to put double-sided adhesive on there. I also don't have any hairs yet, so I'm not going to touch that. This is the other corn, and when you peel the layers off, you will be able to find the corn in there. And you can also check right away if you indeed have earwigs in there. Depends on how far the hair would have grown in here. There's the hairs, right there. Looks like they haven't been eaten yet. And there's your baby corn. Alright, the hairs come off. You gotta pull them off later on when you do the corn. See? That's your baby corn. Would have been a nice healthy piece of corn. So I'm not too worried yet about the earwigs. I guess the hairs will come a little late when the leaves are pretty long. And I'm going to show you now how to pollinate your hand pollinate your corn. You can see these, they're kind of dangling. Just take them off and you just throw them on there. And your hairs are sticky, so they'll stick on there. And then I did that not once, but several times. While the corn was growing, I keep cutting off the hair, and I stopped pollinating them when the flower of the corn actually didn't have any more pollen on them. And just let it grow. In another couple of days it will be long again, and you can cut it down again if you want to. And that way you will always keep on that top area where you want to pollinate, because the new hair is coming through from the top. So the hair that's brown, that's already done growing. In the end, all your hair is brown and your cup is the size of a corn. Then you can pick it off and remove your hair and remove your leaves, and you'll have corn. I thought I was going to get baby corn, but my corn is still growing, even though the flower part is already coming out. As you can see, the hair has already grown a lot in 2 days, and my second one has started growing yesterday. It started to come out, and this is what it looks like today. I'm going to cut off the hairs here, and I'm going to hand pollinate again. I opened that up a little bit so that I could get the pollen right in the middle, and that's the easiest way. But you have to cut it down for that because it's very hard when the hairs are really long. Basically, corn will self-pollinate. When there's wind, it will throw the pollens right on there. But because I don't have that many corn, I'm doing the hand pollination. So basically, if you got like a whole full bin of them standing right next to each other, everything should be okay. You really don't need to hand pollinate. But I just want to make sure that I get the corn, because I only have 8 corns here, and you know, if the wind blows the other way, all my pollen goes on my radishes, so that's kind of useless. And here's another one that started to give hair yesterday. So that's been pollinated as soon as I saw the hair. And I put the double-sided adhesive on the bottom. I did take out the beans though, going from around the corn, because as you can see the leaves, the beans climbing up around the leaves did more harm to my corn than they did actually any good to it. So I took the corn, I took the beans out and just put them around the poles, and now everything is okay, and I'm actually getting my first beans on there now. Right there are the first beans. 1, 2. I got some up here. 3 and 4. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of beans still, even though I planted them pretty late. It looks like my corn is about ready to be picked. I'm going to check that again. If that feels nice and it feels rounded up on the up on the top, you can actually put your finger on there. So I think this is ready. And it picks easily. I might get completely freaked out if there's earwigs in here, but we'll see. Now there's definitely bugs on the inside. But did they find their way through to the corn? That's the main question. No bugs. And we got beautiful yellow corn, except there. That's probably where the earwigs got in and ate the silk. But all you have to do is cut it off. And I'm gonna go see how that tastes. Wonderful. Tastes wonderful. So, good pick. Time to see if I can pick any more. Check this one out. Here's the big corn. He's got a baby corn grown right here. He's got another baby corn growing right here, and a baby corn growing right here. But there's not enough pollen for these. It is August 27, and I'm taking out my corn. I picked the last 2 corns. They were pretty good. The rest of them, I don't think they will mature or be mature. There's no more pollen anyway already for a while. So there's about 2 corns still in there, but I don't think they will mature or get thick. So I'm going to take out my corn now, try again in 2 years, because next year, if all is correct, the neighbor is going to do corn. And when he does corn, I do potatoes, and when he does potatoes, I do corn. So I'll be back with a video about potatoes, and I'm going to grow them from peels. So yeah, that will be for next year. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and maybe you learned something from it. Maybe you're going to be growing your own corn, and if you have any advice, leave the comments in the comment section.